Hello everyone and welcome to Called to Wisdom. Today's video we're going to be discussing a poison in our world that I guarantee you have been affected by in some way at some point in your life. So with that being said, raise your hand if you know what it feels like to have been raised in a broken home. Raise your hand if you know what it feels like to have to choose between parents amidst all of their fights, or maybe you were the parent who simply desired a happy home, a happy family, and a normal life. Raise your hand if you made some terrible financial decisions and have, for a long time, have been digging yourself out of those mistakes. Or if you partied too much in college and flunked out. If you've struggled with substance abuse and have found yourself in addiction, or had to struggle your way through a pregnancy and raising a child all on your own. Raise your hand if you know what it feels like to have a broken life. The point I'm trying to get at is that whether by our mistakes or somebody else's, we have firsthand witnessed what it feels like to live through broken lives. And let me tell you something, it's not supposed to be that way. By God's grace, by God's wisdom, He never meant it to be that way. And through His healing goodness, it can be better. It doesn't have to be that way. Today's video isn't so much about healing those mistakes of the past that have already been made by either you or somebody else, but it's about preventing them in the first place. It's about setting the record straight so that you don't allow that poison to go further in your life, that you don't need to condemn yourself or your children to living broken lives. So, let's get started. Bringing you the wisdom of God so you may skillfully live the life you're created to live. This is Called to Wisdom. Let's get started. For all of you who have been following along with this channel so far, you know that we have been working ourselves through the book of Proverbs. But in case you haven't, here's a little bit of background. The book of Proverbs is written by King Solomon, the king of Israel, otherwise known as the wisest man to ever live, besides Jesus, in which case he is passing on to his son, his successor, all of the wisdom, the life advice, all of the invaluable lessons that he has collected over the years, and he has collected them into a collection, as we know as the book of Proverbs. And as he begins to lay out this book of Proverbs, he says this: "My son, do not lose sight of these, as in all of this wisdom, all of this advice I am giving you. Keep sound wisdom and discretion, and they will be life for your soul, and adornment for your neck. Then you will walk on your way securely, and your foot will not stumble. If you lie down, you will not be afraid. When you lie down, your sleep will be sweet." Imagine that for just one moment. Imagine a life that you knew your steps were secure, as in free of harm, free of mistakes that you will forever regret, forever be haunted by, free of anything that will make you stumble. When you lie down, you won't be concerned about tomorrow. You won't be concerned about what's coming or when you're going to have to pay that next bill or whatever it is that afflicts you. And imagine a life, most of all, that is free of anxiety, free of the anxiety that haunts you on a daily basis. In other words, imagine a life that is peaceful and secure. That is what King Solomon is talking about here. And that is what he is promising to anybody who takes his words, all of his wisdom, and actually applies them to their life. So with that being said, let's look at this verse, this passage from another angle, from another place in the Word of God, and this time it's actually going to be from Jesus. So as we move on, we're going to actually be reading through the book of Matthew, chapter 7, and this is what Jesus has to say. "Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does them, and does not do them, will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. The honest truth is, life is difficult. But according to Jesus, there are two different paths that we can take, two foundations that will ultimately determine our actions, our decisions that will make all the difference concerning how our lives turn out. We can either build upon the sand, or we can build upon the rock. Let's take a few minutes now and simply break down what both of those look like for our lives. So let's start with the path most taken, the sand. The sand is basically whatever you consider best for your life. This is taking what you have been dealt and making the most of it. It is striving for happiness regardless of the cost. It practically looks like living with your girlfriend or boyfriend before marriage. It looks like purchasing whatever you want for the sake of impressing those around you, or conforming to those around you while they dig holes and jump off a cliff. You know exactly what that looks like. It means abusing substances for the sake of self-medicating yourself, and the list goes on and on and on. And the result is brokenness. It is anxiety and despair. It is regrets, mistakes, and ultimately a fragile foundation that leaves you broken. And, well, really, you're simply asking, how did life end up like this? I never meant to be here. That is what it looks like to lay a foundation in the sand. But on the other hand, the life that is laid upon rock is a life that is filtered through this book, through not just Proverbs, but the entire Word of God. It is a life that is forsaking instant gratification and instant happiness for the sake of gaining so much more in the long term. Practically speaking, it is not moving forward with your relationship until marriage. It is remaining faithful to your spouse once married. It is not purchasing that overly expensive house or car for the sake of impressing others and taking out that giant loan that you can't afford. It is not conforming to others who are digging themselves a hole and therefore doing it yourself. It is not self-medicating with alcohol and drugs, but rather it is filtering everything you do through this word, through this book right here, and not settling for anything less than what God created you for. The life that God created you for is for purpose, it is for passion, it is for strength, it is for joy, and everything that goes along with it. And the result is peace and security, right? It's not living with regrets and having mistakes haunt you for the rest of your life. And whether you believe in God or not, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? And maybe you're sitting here today and you are realizing that your own life has probably built on sand, that this foundation that you have laid has resulted in brokenness, in despair, in regrets and mistakes, and even depression. But I need you to know something. It isn't too late. By the mercy of God, He can heal you of all of those things. He can heal you of your decisions, your mistakes, of your sin. He can make all things new. But you need to start laying a foundation upon the rock. You need to start seeking His will, His wisdom for your life. And you can make all things straight. You can start living a life without all of those regrets. But you need to start today. You need to submit yourself to this book. No, to God. You need to submit yourself to all that He has instructed you for. And even if you do believe in Jesus, even if you do believe in God, and even if you do believe that you have been laying your life upon the rock, If you are in need of peace and security this day, I will need you to know that this foundation of sand or rock is a decision that you make on a daily basis. And each and every day, everything you do needs to be filtered through this word. I can't emphasize that enough. I can't. Knowing full well that this book, God's wisdom, has not been given to us to control us, to tell us what to do, but rather it has been given to protect us from ourselves, to protect us from our sinful desires, our instincts, our desires to forsake the long-term riches of His glory and result in broken lives. It is to protect us from all of those things. Now understand that just because you are laying a foundation upon rock doesn't mean that life will be forever perfect. Know that accidents still happen. Sickness still happens. We still live in a broken world. But what it does mean is that you will no longer be afflicted by the consequences of your own mistakes. You will not be condemning others, such as your children in the next generation or those around you, to brokenness because of what you have done. And personally, I think that makes all the difference. And I hope you feel the same way. So there you have it. There are two different foundations that you can lay for your life. One of sand and one of rock. If you desire a firm, peaceful, and stable life that is free from mistakes and harm that will haunt you for the rest of your life, then you need to seek and lay a foundation upon Jesus Christ and the entire Word of God. I guarantee it, you will not regret it. You need to filter everything you do every single day through this word. Know it and apply it to your life. I cannot emphasize that enough. And your life will be peace and it will be stable. And whether you believe in God this day or not, I guarantee that the lessons and the wisdom found in these pages will be unbelievably invaluable to you. So with that being said, imagine with me for just one moment a life that you don't have to worry about tomorrow, that you don't have to worry about condemning yourself or your children or your family or your friends to consequences that will forever cause you harm. Sounds pretty good, I'm just saying. Now, imagine if everybody put this into practice, if everybody applied wisdom to their lives to protect themselves from such things. Our world, all of our society would look pretty good, wouldn't it? It would be tremendously better. I'm just saying, if you desire a life of peace and security, then know this book inside and out. It will be life for your souls. So with that being said, I have one question to ask you. What life, what foundation are you laying for yourself? One of sand or one of rock? The choice is yours. And with that, we are done for today. Thank you everyone for watching. If you learned anything or appreciated this video at all, please hit that like and subscribe button below. And don't forget, calledtowisdom.com offers free devotionals for the growing Christian, so go check them out. And until next time, go live wisely, everyone. See you later.